Asian Aid is an organization giving hope, an organization fostering permanent positive change in the lives of disadvantaged children and their communities, an organization that is committed to making a difference in the lives of children and those who are in need, serving communities in Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and India. For the last 40 years, Asian Aid has invested in the futures of people, and their investment has proven infinite returns. Driven by their dedication to helping those who have the least, Asian Aid is an organization focused on the welfare of children, implementing diverse development projects and sponsoring thousands of children. Their outreach spans from child rescue operations to providing an education for orphans, deaf, and the blind children, giving them a sense of place, a home. But above all, Asian Aid is an organization giving hope to children, giving hope to communities, giving hope to the ones who need it the most. This is Hope in Motion.
Hello, I'm Carl Ginger and I'm on the board of Asian Aid USA. I'm going to talk a bit about Asian Aid and its beginnings. Asian Aid started about 40 years ago with a vision, and in that time it's grown from a thought, a vision, a purpose and a mission to something really significant today. And it's making a significant difference in the lives of children, families and communities. Today I'm going to be talking with Jim Rennie, the CEO of Asian Aid USA. Jim, good morning.
Good morning, Carl.
It's very nice seeing you again. It's more than just being the CEO, it's having a relationship and a friendship, and I'm really grateful for that. Jim, can you tell us a bit about Asian Aid to those who are not really familiar with Asian Aid, what it does, some of the programs it does?
Well, Carl, as you said, Asian Aid was established just about over 40 years now in Australia. And Asian Aid USA has been going about 6 or 7 years. Asian Aid is a very child-focused organisation, and the main activity that we carry out is sponsorship, and we have over 2,800 children, and each child has an individual sponsor. That's our main activity, but on top of that we're involved in over 5 orphanages, a school for the blind, a school for the deaf in India, and then in recent times we've become involved in Operation Child Rescue, which is really exciting because we're involved in the rescue of young girls from the sex trade and also children from hard labour situations and beggary. So Asian Aid is very child focused, but it's involved in a wide range of child-focused activity.
Well, Jim, you mentioned that Asian Aid is primarily about children and child sponsorship. Can you give us a bit more information on sponsorship, whether there are different categories for the sponsorship and how it works, please?
Yes, Carl. Well, there's a number of levels of sponsorship. The first one's a day student, but let me just go back a step. Asian Aid basically takes children based on need and places them in an Adventist school. The first category is a day student. So this is a child who walks or catches the bus from their local village to the school. And so they're supplied an education. Then we have a smaller category called Day Plus, where it's a day student and we provide them the midday meal. Our biggest category is boarder. So this is a child who boards at the school, obviously goes home for the holidays, but they get an education, they get their meal, they get accommodation, they get a uniform and a book allowance. And then of course above that is tertiary. That's where they go to college or university, and a major part of their costs are subsidised by Asian Aid. The unique thing about Asian Aid is that when a child is accepted, whether they have a sponsor or not, they stay in the education program. We always have a pool of unsponsored children. so that we have children in reserve for new sponsors. But also, if a sponsor is unable to continue, the child support continues. Each child has an individual sponsor, and that sponsor gets updates on the child, annual report, and in most cases, the child writes them 2 or 3 letters a year.
Now, with the sponsorship, with these various categories, especially the boarders,
Yes.
How do we select them?
Well, the children are selected on need. So when we have a need for additional children, we allocate it to a particular area or school, and then based on the recommendation of either pastors, community workers, or the principal, the children's names are put forward to Asian Aid. And we have about 11 field officers in India. So the field officer checks on their situation, if possible visits their home, and when they're accepted, they go to the designated school.
And you mentioned orphanages. Now in India we call them children's homes, I guess.
Correct.
Now running an orphanage or a children's home must have challenges.
It does.
How do you see this working? What are the challenges and how do we manage that?
Well, our biggest orphanage is one that Asian Aid USA built in recent years. It's called Sunrise Home, and it's in a beautiful location in the country in a town called Boboli in Andhra Pradesh. It has 10 acres of property, and it's a fantastic home for the children. There's a river flowing nearby, and when we go there, we always enjoy them playing in the river. I think the main challenge with these homes is obviously finding the right staff. It's hard enough bringing up 1, 2 or 3 kids of your own. Could you imagine having to bring up 70 to 100 orphans? These kids are just normal children. They want to do all the things a normal child does. So finding dedicated staff, dedicated Christian staff, who can be a parent to these children, can manage a large number of children, but most of important, give them that Christian influence in their lives is our biggest challenge. I think the second challenge is obviously meeting the legal requirements of the government, and we're very blessed that Sunrise Home is one of the first government approved orphanages that the church and Asian Aid has, but the work these homes are doing is just amazing, and so it's always just great to visit these homes.
Now with all of these children, you mentioned before that we have sponsors. What makes a sponsor want to be involved, and how do they actually get the joy and the pleasure of being involved?
Well, I think sponsorship is a very unique way of making a difference. We all can't visit the mission field, we all can't go on mission trips, and so sponsorship means that every morning you are making a difference in the life of a child. That child is dependent on you for its education, and in some cases its food, and not only that, you're giving a Christian influence to that child. And hopefully the child writes to you. You can write to the child. You get their annual school report. Ooh, my child's getting an A or a C. So you're involved in the life of a child and you're making a difference every day.
And I guess the big thing is that these sponsors stay there for the long term. I see them like postage stamps. They stick to their cause and their commitment to the end. And I would assume that often when they get to the end of the child's education, they might sponsor another child too.
Oh yes, we have, in fact, just the other day I was talking to a sponsor who'd sponsored a particular child for 10 years and they'd left tertiary, and that particular lady took a new child. So she's been sponsoring with Asian Aid over 10 years.
Now that's a good news story. So Jim, when we are talking about Boboli, it's in a rural area. We not only have the children's home, but we're involved in the community, in the local area. Could you give us an idea of what we do there and the impact it's making on these people?
Well, as you remember, Bobbly not far from the major city of Vizag. Now, in the city of Vizag, you'll remember we went to the slum school.
I remember that well.
Yeah, it's a very unique school that Asian Aid funds 100%. It's located right in the centre of the slum. There's 80 small children there. In fact, I think there's about 90 at the moment. And the amazing thing here is that if that school wasn't where it is, right in the heart of the slum, 50% of those children wouldn't be at school. It faces tremendous pressures because the parents quite often want the children to be on the streets begging, so there's a lot of pressure to keep the kids at school. And so Asian Aid's very proud of that ministry and what it achieves.
And every time I visit that school, Jim, I just see the faces of these children. Their smiles are so broad and they're so happy to be at school. It's an inspiration.
That's right, it's a delight. Then as you get nearer to Bobbly, there's a number of day schools where Asian Aid have sponsored children. There's the Sunrise Home, as we mentioned, but then right on the other side of Bobbly to Sunrise, we have the Asian Aid School for the Blind. And once again, this is a very unique school. We have 160 either blind or partially blind children. And once again, these are from very, very poor, remote villages. And in most cases, these are shunned by society. They're rejected by society. So a lot of these kids would have never got an education.
And what would happen if they don't get an education?
Well, we've seen some pretty sad stories. One day when I was there, a girl was brought in and her parents had chained her in the basement of the house for 3 years because they felt they were shamed in having this daughter. And when she arrived, she couldn't speak. And I went back a couple of months later and it brought tears to my eyes as I saw this little girl singing a song. As I said, people like this are rejected by society. The parents don't know what to do with them. And so it has a big impact on the family that their child can get education. And now we see them at tertiary and we have some actually working in call centres. So it's truly a blessing.
And so it's not only the child that's having a new future. The parents also can have a new start because their child can do something. And they can support the child. And as you said, when they grow up, the child can be of a blessing to the parents too.
Yeah.
So Jim, with such a lot of influence in the community, the things we are doing in the community, and I'm sure the community participating in these things, do they see us as Christians, as Adventists? How do they see us?
Well, I think it's exciting how they see us because yes, they know we're Christians. Yes, they know we're Seventh-day Adventists. Now, sometimes they don't understand what a Seventh-day Adventist is,
Sure.
But over time, they learn and understand who we are. 80% of these children are not from Christian homes. So it builds a unique relationship between the church and the community. And quite often, these children take the Christianity back to their homes. So it's one of the most amazing outreach programs that you are a part of when you are involved in sponsorship.
Thanks, Jim. Now, apart from all of these things that we do, sponsorship programs, community development programs, there are other issues that are emerging as well. You mentioned trafficking of children into
Yes.
the sex slavery and the trade. And, you know, there's so much more that Asian Aid is involved in and will be involved in. So join me in a few minutes when we come back, and we will talk to Jim more about how Asian Aid is participating in these new programs and projects and how they are making a difference in the lives of children, adults, families, and communities.
My wife Angela and I are here in Andhra Pradesh, India, visiting some of the Asian Aid projects to see for ourselves how the work that is being done here is transforming lives, especially the lives of orphaned children and abandoned children, children from the tribal communities, And we've discovered that because of sponsors like you, they now have a place that they can call home. They have wonderful clothing, nutritious food, and they are being prepared to propel themselves into the future for a promising career. But above all that, because of sponsors like you, they now have hope, hope for a better future.
Well, I'm here in Sunrise Home with Sheila. Now, my family and I have been sponsoring Sheila for just about a year now, and I can tell you, being here and spending time with her, I can see the difference that sponsorship is making in her life. She now has plenty of food, she has a beautiful place to sleep each night, she has clothes, she has a school uniform, and an excellent education. I can tell you, it's made a difference in her life, and it's made a difference in our lives too. Now, through sponsorship, you too can make a difference in the life of a child every day.
Welcome back. I'm in conversation with Jim Rennie, the CEO of AsianAid USA. Jim, the majority of our work is in India,
Correct.
but we also work in other countries like Sri Lanka. Could you give us an understanding of what we do and where?
Yes, Carl. Well, in Sri Lanka, our main activity there is with Lakbahana College, and we have about 50 sponsored children there. In Bangladesh, we have 300 children in a number of Adventist schools. We're shortly to enter Myanmar. And in Nepal, we have about 150 children in numerous Adventist colleges.
Now, there are special issues in Nepal, and it's like child trafficking is a big issue there.
Correct.
And do we have programs to address this? Where are we starting to address this sort of issue?
Well, we've made a decision with our program called Operation Child Rescue that we want to get involved in this area, especially targeting children. So in Bangalore, we're partnering with an organisation and we're directly involved in rescues. The main activity is rescuing girls from the sex trade. So we're involved directly in rescues that go and take these girls from the brothels and do their best to rehabilitate them.
Now that sounds to me like a risky business.
It is, it is. The team are constantly exposed to danger, and there's obviously corruption at all levels, and our team have to take very special precautions in the work that they do. And then also in Bangalore, we're working closely with a trust that actually rescues babies. These are babies that are rejected by society. They're left on the side of the road, and so the police and social services bring those babies to the rescue centre. And Carl, it's so heartbreaking to see these children that have been rejected by society, but it's just so exciting to see that these children have been saved from death. And Operation Child Rescue is an important part of AsianAid's growing program.
So AsianAid has an influence on children from babies, right through to adults.
Yes. AsianAid's a very unique ministry that we're very child focused, and yet we cover a spectrum of how our donors and supporters can be involved in changing the lives and saving these children from death.
Yeah, and it's not just all of this whole spectrum of people. We also are involved in special needs children, like the School for the Blind and the hearing impaired. Give us a bit more information on these schools, because they serve special needs. I know you mentioned previously about School for the Blind, but tell us a bit more about the School for the Hearing Impaired.
Well, you remember when you and I went there, we drove in the gate, and it was just so exciting. These kids just came rushing around the car, and you hop out, and then without thinking, you start talking to them.
Absolutely.
You forget that they're deaf because they're so animated, they're saying hello. And once again, this is a very, very important school, because these children are from the poor villages. where the society reject them. It's embarrassing to the parents. And to see them singing hymns using sign language, to see them doing a skit to music, but they can't hear the music. Wasn't that amazing?
That is absolutely amazing. The other thing is the concentration on these children's faces, because they can't hear anything, they just focus on what's being done. That's really amazed me.
I think the other important thing also is the difference it makes in the lives of the families, all right? So we're not only sponsoring a child, we're not only giving that child an education, but suddenly the parents who have faced stigma, the parents who have faced embarrassment are suddenly proud of their child. To see parents in the slum who are proud of their little child in their dirty uniform heading off to school. To see parents of the blind children who suddenly have a child they can talk about. And these children make a difference. So the sponsor's making a difference in the life of the family and the community. So it has a very, very wide effect. With our sponsorship program, you're introducing the child to Jesus. They come to the school and suddenly they're learning hymns, they're learning prayer, and they become they really are introduced to Jesus. And it's just so exciting. We see baptisms. We see them taking the Christian influence back to their family and their friends. So sponsorship is a very effective evangelism tool that you are involved in as a sponsor every day.
And what that really also means is it's not just people knowing Jesus Christ, but hope gives them another reason to live.
That's right, and in Asian Aid's logo it says Asian Aid, give hope today. And that's what we're doing. The hope is bigger than the hope of an education. It's a hope of eternal life.
So Jim, to do all of this stuff, we need funds. And I know that at our board meetings, one of the key items is funds. How do we raise funds and what are we going to do with it? What's the challenges?
Well, fundraising's tough. Where there's a lot of ministries out there seeking the dollar that people want to share for good causes. So it's a very competitive environment. But we've been very blessed with the Hope in Motion series that we're a part of right now. And we've been very blessed with our partnership with 3ABN. It's had a dramatic impact on people understanding the work of Asian Aid. We also have to travel around America going to ASIs and church meetings and visiting churches. So that comes with a high cost. But the Lord's blessed us, and we plan to continue growing. We plan to continue helping more children.
And Jim, I know that this comes at a cost, but the long-term benefits far outweigh these costs.
Yeah, the unique thing about sponsorship, there's an investment at the beginning, but the donor stays with us for 5-10 years. But it's also impacting on the child for 5 to 10 years. So it's a great investment.
And when we talk about impacting on the child for 5 or 10 years, that's the immediate impact. But the future impact is priceless.
Correct.
Now, tell me, with all these sponsors, how significant are the small, regular sponsors?
Oh, no organisation can survive without the small donor. We get very excited about large donations, but the secret is a large base of people who give regularly. So the $5 a month, the $10 a month is critical to our success. And I'm so grateful for the people who don't have a great income, who really support us regularly. And the Lord will bless them, and they will be so excited for seeing for their contribution.
Jim, with managing all of these children, and there must be a lag between getting sponsors and having children. So you must have some unsponsored children. How do the unsponsored children work?
Well, Carl, at most times we can have 200 to 300 unsponsored children, because we obviously have to have a pool of children available, but also sometimes sponsors fall out. And once a child enters our program, Asian Aid continues to support them. So the Unsponsored Child Fund is critical to running an efficient sponsorship program. Now, The unsponsored child fund is a unique way that someone who doesn't want to pay a monthly cost or a monthly donation can make a one-off donation. So one of the good ways that a person can support a child without the monthly commitment is to contribute to the unsponsored child fund. It's a big need for us, but it's an important need.
And this fund actually guarantees that the child can continue.
Correct.
with its
It
education.
guarantees that the children can continue in the program, and it gives us a pool of children to ensure our growth.
And Jim, it sounds like Asian Aid is a learning organization. We learn from what's happened yesterday, we do things today, and we create a future for tomorrow.
Correct.
So tell us, how would others get involved with Asian Aid?
Well, I think the best place is to start is our website, which is asianaid.org. That's www.asianaid.org. And there you can see the activity we're doing. You can look up our phone number and call us if you want to. You can actually donate online. You can sponsor a child online. So that's the best way. Or give us a call. Or if you see us in an event, come and ask us for some information. We want to hear from new donors. We want them to read about us and understand what we do.
So it's really easy to get involved.
Correct.
Just call, talk to us.
Yes.
So to all our sponsors, I'm sure you would say thank you for all your support.
Oh, look, I am just so grateful when we open the mail on a Monday morning and I just see people who I know don't have a big income, but they're giving something for these children. And I am just so impressed. And it's so emotional sometimes when we see what people are doing to help our organisation, but more importantly to help the children that we are educating or rescuing. And I'm just so grateful to the donors and the supporters of Asian Aid.
To all of you who are watching this special edition of Hope in Motion, you can see that Asian Aid is making a difference. They are committed to making a difference, and they certainly can use you and your commitment to further this cause. I would encourage you to call Asian Aid and give of your time and resources, because you can make a difference in the lives of children, families, and communities, and help create and guarantee tomorrow's generation can be filled with hope.